Nyan, Alex, hi, how are you? How are you doing today? I wasn't expecting this. Well, here it be, here it do. Oh no, where's my water? I got a refill that oh my god, I put it so far away from me. Yoshino, hi, welcome. How are you doing? As you know, I'm always hyper conscious about audio levels, so let me know if something's too loud or too soft. I'm gonna go attempt to reach my water and not destroy anything. This is gonna be a challenge. The half Canadian, thank you so much. I got it. I feel accomplished. I feel strong. Shiny Luxray, hi, hello Caldwin. Nimin and Ike, hi, welcome. Pro Juicer, hello. Howdy. Happy birthday, Pancake. Why am I a pancake? Shadow, hi. Foss. Here we are. Hello. It was happy birthday, Foss. Yeah. Lucas Aurelius, hi, welcome. 15k points, yay, no idea what I'll be using them for, that's fine. Thank you so much, Lucas. Thank you so much, Kai. Cookies. Thank you so much, Johnny, for subscribing, for being a special conscious within the kingdom for 9 months, hello. Thank you. Okay, well, as everyone is filing in, as, well, it's obviously no longer a secret, is my stream down? Nyani? No? We are clearly live? What do you mean down? Oh my goodness, what'd I just do? Yeah! Alex! Hi! That feel when this was in another tab and it didn't automatically start. You are not worthless, Alex. But anyway, so it's no surprise that, well, there are two things here that are no surprise. One, it's no longer a secret that it is indeed, in fact, my birthday. Which I didn't really want to make that big a deal about. Every day is somebody's birthday, you know. Thank you, Stream Elements. Hello, Superstorm Dried. But hi, Cypher. But any hoozles, what's even more important and what's not a secret at all is that we have a very special guest today. This is the second in our series of chats with musician VTubers. Now, to specify, it is not just VTubers whose whole focus is music related. It could just be a musical instrument that they are learning on the side, just some sort of passion in music, or it could be something that like wholly defines them. So, yeah, and what better way to spend my birthday than with our very own Phosphoric? So please thank Foss for joining me today and welcome her to the stream. Foss! Hello! Yeah, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, except we're having sound issues in Discord.
Are we?
Yeah.
Can you not hear me?
At a normal volume, I can hear you, but when you're excited, it's really hard to hear you.
Oh no, is it because the thingy? I don't know what it's called. What is it called? The thing that does the thing about noise suppression?
Maybe. I don't know.
Here, let me see. Let me see if I can get rid of that because I did. Hang on. Okay, how about this? Is it any better?
I think so.
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah.
That sounded way better.
That was my big goof. But anyway, yeah. So it is Foss, and what better way to spend my birthday than with this dear, cute owl girl, my good friend. Yeah, hoo, yeah. So let's get this starting soon stuff out of here. Oh, hi, welcome everybody. And here we have the adorable Phos, who is just...
The Birdunias.
The Birdunias. Yes. Whoosh. Utio. Hi. Welcome. Hello. So, Phos. It is...
Yes.
It is no secret, once again, that, you know, birthdays call for celebratory beverages.
Yes.
Do you have your celebratory beverage in hand?
I do.
Can you share what you have with you today?
I have an oddly shaped glass of rum and Coke.
Amazing.
With plenty of ice. I don't know if the mic will pick that up.
No, I hear that.
Oh, nice.
Nice. I have with me a good old-fashioned vodka cran with ice. Nothing
That
special.
sounds wonderful.
I think you're... Marty Fox, hi! Gwynnifer, hello! Happy birthday to you, too! Good old vodka and birthday, nothing better. Tastes like jet fuel, because the first time... Okay, so I poured in the cranberry first, and then I poured in the vodka, and I didn't stir, because I had put in too much cranberry, so I tried to drink from the top to, like, you know, lower the... And it was just straight vodka.
Oh no, you did the same thing that I did.
It was jet fuel. I felt like I could fly to the moon. It was interesting.
Oh my gosh.
Vodka's producer, hi! Barry entertained. Happy birthday, you pure child. B-day, you pure child. Thank you. Queen of Crunch's vodka cranberry. Yeah. Hello, Cod. Yes. So, anyway, beverages aside, we are here to chitty chat about cookies.
Happy birthday.
Wow!
Thank you so much, Donnie. Thank you. You didn't have to, but thank you. 本当にありがとうございました. Thank you so much. That's so kind. That's so very kind. Thank you, Donnie. Thank you. What vodka? Vodka. But yes, no, beverages aside, we are here to discuss musician-related things. So, for those who don't know what your glorious instrument of choice is, could you tell us something about yourself and your love for your instrument?
Well, about myself first or the instrument first? Well,
Whatever order you want to do it in. It's whatever tickles your fancy.
Oh my gosh. So I am a violinist. Not a particularly good violinist, but I'm a violinist nonetheless. And I started when I was in primary school, and unfortunately had to put it down because of other engagements. But when I graduated college, I picked it back up again. And so that has been probably 3 or 4 years now that I've been working on it now.
Very, very nice. So, you said it's only been about 3 years, technically, right?
Yeah.
It's like since picking it back up.
Yeah.
What got you back into it? Because I know a lot of times, I mean, for most kids here in the States, you have to learn either a band instrument or an orchestra instrument for like elementary school, and sometimes you have to continue to play that instrument through middle school and maybe even high school, but after that it just kind of falls off the surface of the earth. What made you want to pick it back up?
So, first of all, I want to make a little comment. I did have to play an instrument through middle school, but I played French horn in middle school because my dad used to play French horn, and I guess wanted me to play it. So I was this little tiny blonde girl with a big old French horn.
That's adorable! I love that mental image.
Oh gosh.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness.
no.
So was it that you're like you already had the instrument in the house, and so you were just like, you know, I'll just learn what we have here so that it doesn't, you know, you don't have to rent an instrument or anything like that?
Yeah, so in I started with violin, and then because we had to rent that, and you know, after doing a couple of years of violin, my dad was like, why don't you just try the French horn? Because we have one. And I'm like, sure. So yeah, I played French horn in middle school. And then I wanted to pick it back up because I truly enjoy strings as an instrument, or as instruments. I love cello. I love violin. I love piano. I don't know if that's really technically considered a string, but I mean, it has strings, right?
Yes, it's actually, I mean, it was a debate for a really, really long time under what category to put it in, but it's actually considered a percussive instrument.
That kind of makes sense, though, given the mechanism.
Right, because it's the hammer that hits the string, and it's the fingers that, like, you know, hammers, and it depends how you hit the key, right? So everything's sort of percussive in that way.
Yeah.
But,
so, yeah, to answer your question, I wanted to pick it back up just because I have a love for string instruments, and I listen to classical music quite often, whether that, when I did have a commute to work, that was like my music of choice. That would keep me calm on the roads.
Aww,
Yeah.
that's wonderful. So, because, okay, so you said that you loved different kinds of string instruments. Why the violin? Was it just because it was the smallest string instrument?
Not necessarily. I liked the violin when I had played it originally, so I was sort of gravitated back to it. Honestly, I didn't really, now that I'm like thinking back on it, I didn't really take that much effort to decide on an instrument. I was just like, I played violin before, let's do that again.
That can be easy though, right? Sometimes those kinds of choices are almost the easiest to make when you don't think too hard about it.
Yeah, and I don't regret it at all. I love the instrument.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I treat it like my little sister.
Now, do you name your instrument?
I thought about doing that, but I haven't settled on a name that I like.
That's okay, it'll come to you. I named all my instruments except my piano. So I understand how that goes. Those classical and jazz are great to relax to. Yes, yes, yes. I agree. Actually, do you have a what's the word I'm looking for? Do you have a preference?
Classical or jazz?
Yes.
I kind of prefer, honestly, I don't listen to jazz all that much, so I have to say I prefer classical quite handily.
Foxy! Hi, Foxy! Thank you so much for the host. Yes. Wait, what did I say something bad?
I don't think so.
I didn't think so either. Did I say Chad is reacting rather aggressively?
I'm not sure. Oh my
Wait,
God.
what did I hang on, let me reread what I said. I don't know, tonight some sort of interspecies reviewers. We haven't heard. What's wrong with that? I don't understand.
Oh no! I think I know.
Wait, no, I don't know. Nani? Nani? Medium, thank you so much for the follow and welcome to the Kingdom of Crunch. And thank you so much for all those who followed earlier. I'm so sorry I couldn't greet hello. I just didn't want to interrupt our adorable guest because her voice is heavenly. And I just wanted her to keep talking forever. Never stop talking, Foss.
I did get it. I'm kind of concerned. Utio, why?
Nani? We'll just... People are like, just move on, so we shall move on. So you said, okay, so you didn't think too much on the instrument, but you don't regret your choice. Can I ask, if you, okay, and then we talked about classical versus jazz. Do you have a favorite, quote unquote, period of music that you prefer to listen to? Because when we say classical, right, that's like a genre now. It's like a lowercase c. Mm-hmm. But music is broken into quite a few different periods. We have medieval, Renaissance, Baroque, classical, then we have romantic, then 20th century, and then, we have atonal and things like that. So do you find that you have a preference?
I'm pretty agnostic as far as what period that I listen to the most, and it's partially because what I listen to is the radio. And so what I find is that given a set of music or given a set of songs or pieces, I will, it depends on my mood that I'll jive with a certain piece more than others on a certain day. But I don't think I really have a preference for really. I know, like, if I were in a particular mood and I knew I was in like a particular mood, like if I was down in sort of being a sad little, I don't know, a sad little owl, I would probably listen to Baroque, and I would like that more than anything else just because it fits the mood.
Baroque for a sad owl. You are a classy owl, let me tell you. I would not want to listen to Baroque if I'm sad. That would just make me angry.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
All sorts of classical just makes me feel calmer. I don't know.
No, that's good. That's good.
And when I'm happy, I always love when NPR puts on like I always jive with like the guitar concertos that they put on every once in a while. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I feel like classical guitar is so underrated because like
it is.
You have to straight up like hold the instrument different even. And like how they play it is so different and it's so pretty.
I've actually never seen someone play classical guitar. I've only seen modern guitar be played. But I've listened to plenty of classical.
That's the most important. That's the most important. If you ever, so like we had a department in the university that I went to. They had a classical guitar department and they would put on studio recitals. And it was always so hard to hear the guitars in this big auditorium, and they'd like have this dinky little mic hooked up to it because they couldn't, like, I guess they just like didn't have like large enough mics, or like maybe the stand couldn't get low enough to like put the mic right in front of the guitar. So it was always these tiny little guitars and you have to sit like as close to the stage as possible just to hear them. But oh, when you could, it was so nice. That studio really had some good dedicated students. So it was nice. It was lovely to hear when they would put on recitals. They wouldn't always, and sometimes the studio was too small to like do any sort of like thing like that, but
Surprise
yes.
birthday crunch.
Cool dude Zach, thank you so much for the 10 crunches. Thank you. And thank you for the birthday wish. Mafu. Yeah. Rose Zoto, thank you so much for the birthday wish. Thank you. But yes, so you are a classy burb. If you be listening to Baroque as a sad owl, cause girl, that would make me rage something awful.
Oh my gosh.
I'd be like, Vivaldi, why did you do that again? Think of a new pattern than descending fifths, please.
Oh my gosh.
But yes, so what kind of pieces do you get a choice in what pieces that you learned for your lessons nowadays? Because I know like as a young student, you can, you don't really have as much of a choice. And I know it's always dependent on the teacher as well, but is your teacher quite lenient with pieces you can learn to play?
So I'm not all that picky. I've been going through the Suzuki books, which potentially you're familiar with.
Mm-hmm, yes.
And yeah, so I've just been going through the Suzuki books and not really picking songs myself, because I think the natural progression there in those books is that you learn sort of a new thing each song you go through, regardless of whether or not you like it. So there are songs that I dislike, and there are songs that I like, and it's sort of like a discovery. It's not really me going, oh my gosh, I want to learn how to play Legend of Zelda soundtrack, right? I'm not being picky like that. I'm not trying to shape, because that could potentially, like, the score for Legend of Zelda could be potentially really advanced. I don't know. I don't think it is, but that reasoning stands. Like if I picked a random song and I didn't follow the progression of like a standard student repertoire, then it may end up just being harder, more difficult than it's worth.
Yes. No, I appreciate that because, and I mean, maybe it's because you're an older student, so you kind of understand the importance of learning things step by step, but I cannot tell you how exhausting it is to like have to constantly tell kids like, you might be able to play the first 4 measures of Fur-Elise with your right hand, but you are not going to be able to play the whole piece, especially not the middle section. Like, it is hard. It's Beethoven. He did not compose for like, you know, early learners. You can't do this piece, but they're always, you know, they're always eager, and I guess that's nice, right? Because then you can always go, well, if you want to learn this piece, then just keep working hard, and maybe you'll get to that level one day. But I'm always, you know, kind of surprised that students aren't a little bit more like intimidated, I guess, by the pieces that they're asking to learn. It's like, you have never even seen an eighth note before. How do you plan to learn this? So
that's quite the jump.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like, oh, you know, maybe not. So, you know, but what are you gonna do? So, I felt like I had another question. Of course I do. I have many questions. I ask questions. Maybe a little too much, but that's what today's all about.
They're fine.
It's all about questions. So you learn by Suzuki. That's actually kind of interesting. Do you let me see here. Do you have a what's the word I'm looking for? Do you have like goal pieces that you
goal piece? Honestly, I don't. I've been actually looking for something like that recently because it is sort of a little boring to just go through what's in the book. You know what I mean?
No, I do understand that for sure.
So I'm not entirely sure what I'm after as far as in the long term. I don't really have goal pieces. I do have a goal of playing in the local community orchestra, but that's not exactly what you asked. So I don't know.
Well, that's a wonderful goal. Because they play some, you know, wonderful pieces, you know? And maybe, you know, because there are pieces that are composed strictly for one instrument, and then there are like big orchestral works that, you know, people will want to play eventually. So you know what? I get that. I get that that's also a goal. But yeah. So you've been looking for goal pieces.
I have been looking. I think a little part of me, just because I play a lot of games, there are soundtracks from games that I do want to play. Legend of Zelda, for example. You know, there's even like the Nier soundtrack would be cool.
Ooh.
There's a lot of stuff out there that is so beautiful that you don't necessarily hear on the radio because it's not traditionally classed with other classical music. It's like in a different realm. Like video game music is in a different realm, and sometimes even like movie music is in a different realm. Like music would be, their scores would be awesome to be able to play. Or like a good one from recent memory is the Westworld soundtrack.
Westworld?
Oh my god, have you not seen Westworld?
No, I have not. I'm sorry. I am woman. What is that?
It is. I can't even tell you what it is. It's a very thought-provoking show on HBO about a world with androids that can basically pass as humans.
Ooh, so kind of like Detroit Becomes Human, but as a show?
Sort of, yeah. You'll have to watch it. It's quite interesting.
Ooh, I'll have to look into that. But yeah, no, that's you, and you make a fair point too. Is like video games and TV shows and just I don't know, the world of music is changing. I mean, I focus on what I hear from piano because obviously that is the instrument that I lose my profession. But I hear so much more like piano solo things in orchestral works, or even just like, you know, a little snippet and I kind of hear a piano sort of like tinkling through, and I'm always like, oh, I feel like I wouldn't have heard a piano, you know, a long time ago. You know what I mean? Like it's like things are becoming like solo instruments, or like solo moments for instruments are becoming more, or coming back, I guess, but they're being used for those sorts of medias than they were before. And not all, you know, there are some, like I just watched I rewatched Train to Busan the other day, and I don't know if anyone's familiar with that movie. Have you ever seen it before, Foss?
I have not.
It's on Netflix, but it's a Korean made movie, basically about the zombie apocalypse, but it takes place, it starts in Korea, and most of the setting of the movie takes place on a train. And
Interesting.
It's a really, I am beginning to like Korean made like zombie themed movies now, because they're and that's so specific, isn't it? But their take on zombies is so different from what I guess I'm used to from Western culture. So it's a little bit refreshing. And I really like it. But that being said,
how is it different, if I can ask you a question?
Yeah, no, so like I really want to know. They, you know, that's a good question. I had never seen World War Z. But a friend who had seen both movies was like, yeah, they seem more like World War Z zombies, where they can run. Like they aren't just like, they just like have their arms stretched forward and they're, you know.
Brains.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot more gory though, that's for sure. But I don't know, it's just kind of an interesting take. I remember thinking that very, very vividly. I'd give it a go. And sort of how the infection spreads, and how they don't rely on jump scares to get you invested or hooked into the movie. It's they do it through suspense, and they do it through I guess like good scene setup and things like that. So yeah, I don't know, I'd give that a go. So total tangent on that part. But that being said, I enjoyed the movie, but the soundtrack was so forgettable. It was just a wash of sound, and I was like, oh yeah, I will not remember this. You know what I mean? Like it was just it did its function, right? Which was to either have suspense in certain areas or whatever.
Cookies!
Mel? Hi! Welcome, Mel! Thank you so much for gifting 2 tier 1 subs to Sona the Sweet and Diavolo Unknown, and for allowing them to be special crouches in the kingdom. That's so kind of you. Thank you so much, Mel. Thank you. I hope you've been doing well. I love you. Anyway, but yeah. So, but yeah, the whole point of that was that, you know, sometimes movies and composers and things like that, composers for movies, do it right, and sometimes they just fall flat. But video game music has been very strong in the last maybe decade even. There's my there's my rant on that. But
I find that video game music is actually like, honestly, beyond video games as well, but the music in video games drives the story, especially in like single player games. Because if you imagine, like, I don't know how many people do this, but sometimes I will turn the music off to listen to my own music, but you know, I forget to turn on Spotify or whatever, and then you just have like a game that's entirely drab, and it seems like the gameplay suffers if you don't have the right soundtrack to it. Which is really interesting. But if you find a good game or even a good show with a compelling soundtrack, it can really just be make or break for the entertainment value, which I find is interesting.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right about that. Because and that's something I hadn't thought about before, but that makes a lot of sense actually. And actually there is a one of my friends is a music ed teacher, so they teach like elementary school music, and one of the activities that they do with their students is they have this little like, I guess it's about a week's worth of like class lessons, or 2 weeks worth, or maybe even a month's worth. I don't know how it works anymore. It's so different nowadays, but they do this one like activity where it's watching the same scene, and it's just like something that they record. So they like take a walk outside or something, and they like recorded a couple of ducks walking or something, and then they set that recording to 2 different kinds of music. One was like pleasant and like, you know, jolly, and then one was like creepy and suspenseful, and it's like, well, it was the same scene, but it definitely changed like how you feel. And it was, you know, sort of the whole point of that activity was just kind of to show that, yeah, music does have a driving, you know, function in how you interpret that scene, and what, you know, whether it's suspenseful, whether you expect something to happen next, or if it's just something you're supposed to enjoy in the moment. But yeah, so that makes a whole lot of sense to me. And like I said, it's something that I did not consider until you said it, and I was like, wait a second, yes, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So
yeah, that's one of the things that I look for, like when I'm gonna call like a show, an anime or something like that good, I always like feel out the music first, and I'm like, if the music is powerful and driving, and it sort of helps you feel the emotion of the scene, then it's usually pretty easy to say that the show is good.
Oh, that's a good way to judge something. I think music is really, really important to all of those stuff. I felt like I was gonna ask another question. Ah! These questions are like flying out of my brain. No. This is what tangents drive discussion, right? This is good. Oh, here's a question I knew I had thought of early before we even started this interview. It's not a hard question. How have you been doing with your lessons during quarantine?
So my teacher and I have been doing virtual lessons. I have a sort of makeshift music room in which I can bring my work laptop downstairs, and we can use the webcam, and I have a decent microphone that I can play with, so that she can hear sort of if I'm on tone, if I am hitting the right notes and doing the right sorts of stuff. And it's been working. I think it's been working pretty well. That being said, I've only done it, I think 3 times now? 3 times? Something like that.
That's good though. I mean, three times you can kind of like get a handle for how well you feel like it's going, right? How do you, I mean, there's the big question that's been going on, especially, you know, when kids had to, you know, stop going to school and taking their schooling online or through home and things like that, is, you know, is doing things online really the way to go? Like, should we keep as many things as we can online to avoid a problem like this in the future? Would you stick with online lessons, or are you like itching to get back to like one-on-one lessons?
So I'm sort of in between. I'm on the fence because I like the convenience of not to drive or bicycle down to the music shop in which I take my lessons. But I'm also like, I sort of like being in person. It's more personable, and you feel like you're getting a better lesson out of it, I think, just because I can show my teacher where my fingers are on the fretboard. I can, I can play alongside her if, there's something that's not really jiving in my brain. Or, in the music room in the shop, we also have a piano. I mean, I have a piano at my house or in my little music room as well, but it's sort of, I don't necessarily have the skills that my teacher does that could potentially help me sort of feel out the rhythm and the tones that I'm looking for. So it is nice to have an in-person. I'm not necessarily itching for it, but I do know that there are some things, like if I were to get stuck on something like a rhythm or like a particular progression that's not quite clicking in my brain, then if I was in person, it sort of feels better to have her either play it with me or play it by herself so that I can listen or whatever.
No, that makes perfect sense. That makes perfect sense. And that is like one big thing that I'm sure like any other instrument basically other than the piano must struggle with is tone. Because that's purely up to the instrumentalist. Whereas like especially for early learners or students who are just learning notes, rhythm, dynamics, and things like that, tone isn't really something that we have to worry about. It's more like articulation and, are you connecting all of your notes together in this slur? Or are you playing staccato or things like that? You know what I mean? But yeah. Like, I can imagine how frustrating it must be if you're like, wow, the sound is bad and I can't tell if it's, just because it's through my laptop audio or if it's,
Cookies!
if it's me just scuffing it. Insane! Oh my goodness, thank you so much for gifting 5 tier 2 subs and for allowing Nevroso, JC-kun, the Truthful Gamer, and
Cookies!
Angel Daddy and Junkie Spectre for being special crunches within the kingdom. Thank you, thank you! Thank you so much. Thank you. Happy birthday. Oh, thank you so much. It was a birthday gift. I appreciate it so much.
Cookies!
And thank you all for joining today. I'm so happy to see so many of you here. Yay! But yes, no, I absolutely understand. That must be different. But
Cookies!
at least that option is there now, because I know for myself, I was really, really, really against doing virtual lessons. Like I could only think about the bad things. Like I was like, oh, well, I can't correct a student's hand position. I can't check their finger numbers and make sure that their hand is in the, that their hand is making the correct shape, or that they're sitting properly at the piano and
Cookies!
things like that. An anonymous gifter, thank you so much for gifting 5 tier 1 subs and for allowing the Faded Loner, Cool Dude Zach, Professor Corgless, Ganji,
Cookies!
and Raul Zoro for being special crunches within the kingdom. Thank you so much. Thank you. Is it Harune's birthday? It is! Thank you.
Cookies!
But yes. No, so I can, I only saw the negatives, and when I had to, because I couldn't go into the studio anymore to teach.
Cookies!
I kind of had to like suck it up and just teach that way anyway. And I mean, I still, all of the things that I feared about it
Cookies!
are still there. I notice it.
All of your students are slouching.
Most of my students, they sit pretty good, but like one of the first things that I always have them do is adjust their bench when they sit down, because that's really, really important to good posture. And when I'm not there to check their seat position, I can't be like, hey, fix it. You know what I mean? And I'm not gonna be like, hey, can you like totally mess up your setup just so I can see how your butt connects to the bench? You know what I mean? Like, so there are some things I just can't check for. It's also a little bit frustrating because I'm noticing, or it's something I hadn't noticed before, is how many of my students have electric keyboards that don't have weighted keys.
Oh no!
Yeah, so they can't do dynamics. So they're just like messing with the volume toggle, and I'm like, bruh, don't do that. So, I was like, ugh, like, oh, well, the only way. So sometimes for a lot of my students, the only time they ever get to play on a real instrument is when they're in the lesson with me, because they have an acoustic piano to play on. Alex asks, what are dynamics? It's basically just the fancy term for how loud or soft to play. So obviously there's not just two sounds, loud or soft. There are varying degrees in between, and there's even like loud, like incredibly loud, and there's also incredibly soft. Yeah.
Happy birthday, Harune Doi Love.
Thank you so much, Lil Genji, for the 100 crunches. Thank you. Hype train. That's my operatic singing. Lucas, thank you so much for the 1
Pride
crunch. Pride bit, thank you. But yes, yeah. So what weighted keys are, is when you push a key on the piano, the sound or the sound level changes depending on how fast or slow you push into the key. So when you don't have weighted keys, no matter how fast or how slow you push into the key, you get one sound level, and that's whatever the volume switch is set at. So for a lot of my students, they can't. Yeah. Thank you so much,
Birthday
Dee,
hype.
for the 300 crotches. Thank you. Thank you, yeah. Insane, thank you so much for subscribing to tier 3. And for being a special crunch for 5 months.
Hype crunch.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the 10 crunches, cool dude Zach. Yeah, thank you. A toy piano? Pretty much.
Cookies.
Yes, I caught that before my alert did, so ha 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 ha. But yeah. So essentially a toy piano, but that's sometimes all that my students have, or they don't even have like a full keyboard. Like, so a full keyboard has 88 keys of black and white keys total. Some of them only have like 60 or 70. I don't know why they would sell them shorter, but it explains when they
They make those keyboards that are like short, but then they have this little wheel or whatever that allows you to shift the octave.
More hype crunch.
Oh my gosh, that would be horrible if that really existed. That would upset me so. That upsets me so much. That makes me so mad. Nani the heck. Insane, thank you so much for gifting a tier 2 sub to Nesian. You have gifted 69 gift subs to the channel. Arigatou gozaimashita. Thank you for allowing Nesian to be a special crunch within the kingdom for 4 months. Thank you. But yes. Yeah, it actually exists. Yeah, no, that upsets me. I had 2 students, they were siblings. And they took lessons on 2 different days. And one of them explained to me that the only thing that they had to play on, after their mom returned the rented keyboard, was a little like dinky baby toy.
Oh no.
I was like, and you're still paying for lessons? Like, what?
Oh my god.
Like, how do you...
Like a little Fisher Price?
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, well, how do you expect your kids to improve? Like, they come in for 1 lesson a week for 30 minutes. They have nothing to practice on but a little baby toy. Like, what were you thinking? So,
Cookies.
it's infuriating, but total tangent aside. Donnie, thank you so much for gifting a tier 1 sub to COD and for allowing them to be a special crunch within the kingdom. You've gifted 39 gift subs so far. Thank you so much, Donnie. All of you guys are so generous. Thank you. Mira-san, ohayou gozaimasu. Kite kurete urishii desu. Hi. Welcome. But yes. Sorry, I went on a tangent there. My massive apologies.
That's your interview. You can go on an tangent you want.
Sora, thank you so much. Hi. Welcome. You're new here? Oh, well, you are just in time. We are interviewing the most adorable burb violinist you will ever meet.
Yeah.
This is my very, very dear friend Foss, and she is just the best. If you couldn't understand Scream, that was Foss. But I've been trying to keep my screams down to a low volume. I don't know if that's been working, but I'm trying to make this audible for all people. but yes. So so even pre-quarantine, you know, as soon as you kind of got back into the groove of violin, can you walk us through your practice regimen? Do you have a regimen, or is it just, you know, whatever the assignment is for that week?
So practicing, I guess, can get as complicated or as simple as you want, at least in my eyes. I'm really weird about learning new stuff, and when I say weird, I mean like I overanalyze and I try to incorporate lots of things that aren't necessarily violin playing. Like, just as an example, before I get into what I usually do to practice, I make sure that I drink a lot of water every day. I make sure that I take my vitamins. I make sure that I eat well. I make sure that I sleep 8 hours. All you people who don't sleep 8 hours. because all of these things, like, go together. Having a healthy body is super important to like learning something new, because it helps keep your memory sharp. It helps keep your brain working at 100%, and sometimes you can push it further than that if your body is healthy. So I do all that first of all, and then when I'm practicing, I like to come up with goals for some of the sessions that I'm working on, or some of the pieces that I'm working on, and sometimes for individual sessions where I am working on those pieces. Typically those goals could be something like, okay, I want to finish half of this piece. I want to get through it. I want to just make sure that I know all the concepts that I'm trying to hit. And I totally lost what I was going to talk about, or what I was the train that I was on.
No, you were talking about your practice regimen and kind of like how that goes about. I just want to step in for a second, because as you were talking, Nagitan donated
oh my gosh.
10,000 crunches. Thank
That's
you.
a lot of crunches.
That's a lot of crunches. Thank you so much, Nagita. I can't even express how I feel. Thank you so very, very much. That's so incredibly generous. Thank you. You don't have to do that, but I absolutely, my heart is just thank you very much. But yes, so you said your practice depends on well, you said you do things that don't tend to always relate to what you need to practice.
Yeah. Make sure I'm healthy first, and then I make goals, and beyond that, like, my actual practice session is pretty simple, I guess. I mean, so I usually have a piece that I'm working for a few weeks at a time, and if I want to perform, it's a lot more than a few. But if it's just something that I'm trying to get through, then to learn the concepts, then it's usually only 1 or 2 weeks, and we move on to the next song until we find something that I like, and then we go for longer. But basically, the practice session comes down to tuning my violin, doing scales. I typically do a scale before, in a couple of forms before I do any sort of playing. And so what that could sound like is, if I'm going to do a song in F major, for example, that I will run up and down all 4 of my strings. There are 4 strings on a violin, and there are typically in first position, which is basically like home row on your keyboard, there are 4 notes on each string, or 3 notes on each string if you don't want duplicates. First finger, second finger, third finger, and fourth finger would be the same, the next string, or the next string with no fingers. And so you run up the scale, do all 4 fingers on each string, and then you sort of have an idea of where all of the notes are for that key signature. And then that's when I will start to go through my song. And, and sort of generally what I do is I will play through the song until I have like sections that I circle on my sheet music that I know I need to focus on. So I'll play through my song until I get to those sorts of sections, and I will practice like the transitions into those sections, transitions out of those sections. And sometimes I'll even break it down to like individual notes, or like do halftime for individual notes or individual measures. And it all really depends, like the focus of it all really depends on the goals that I set sort of at the beginning. Like I could be wanting to do dynamics, I could want to be working on my ornamentals, I could want to be working on my tone, making sure that I'm hitting the right notes and not sort of skewing off towards like a flat or a sharp where I should be at a natural. So it's pretty simple, but yeah.
You sound like the ideal student, Foss. Goodness gracious, like, all of the things that you do to practice is like what I tell my students, like, play through the piece, any parts that you scuff, mark them, work on them, like, if it's dynamics that you focus on, then, you know, like, everything that you just listed was just exactly what I would have told all of my students. Can you be my student and learn piano instead?
I would love to learn piano. I have a piano that I bought a keyboard for, it's weighted, by the way. I bought a keyboard for Shaney because he had expressed interest in learning an instrument, in particular keyboard. And so I bought it for him, but he never took that plunge to find a teacher and to get started. So what ended up happening is it went to the music room, and I'm in the music room most of the time. I ended up playing it.
Aw, yay!
So yeah, I've been doing a little bit of new stuff for piano as well. Not that I have any teacher.
Yeah, I could give you virtual lessons because that's what I've been doing anyway. Hey! Producer asks, how hard is violin for a beginner? Asking you, Foss.
Ooh. Violin for a beginner is kind of tough. I mean, I can't say that I am anything but a beginner, but for a beginner, it's not like guitar where there's markings where you can put your fingers for each note. So a lot of times for beginners, you'll get sort of generally a cheap instrument that doesn't keep its, and you'll get an instrument where they tape down like where you should put your fingers for first position at least. I am learning third position as well, so maybe tape down those extra notes, which is just further down the fretboard. So, but yeah, so there's a lot of uncertainty, and especially in like getting the tones and it can be sort of frustrating, but what'll happen is over probably the first few months that you play, you'll hear the tones that you're supposed to be hitting at each place, but then that gets harder every time you learn a new scale or a new key signature. So it is kind of a tough instrument.
Yeah, I mean, I had to learn violin for I played violin starting in 5th grade, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And I think no, just those 4 years. And learning violin for the first time, obviously, you know, once you learn how to read music, that applies across the board as long as you read the same clefs. And then if you need to learn a new clef, then you just need to know, you know, how to adjust. But that was definitely something that I like wasn't used to, was like finger placement, and if you're like slightly off, like, or then like even just having like first position, second position, and they kind of like equal the same you know, and there's like overtones and things like that, and I just was a little bit frustrated.
Especially in like third position, like the further down the fretboard you are, the less room you have for error. Like there's less room between your fingers as you move from note to note further down the fretboard, which can be terribly frustrating. You're like, where's that freaking note?
What did you find most rewarding, or not what did, but what do you find the most rewarding about your instrument, or just learning music in general?
That's hard to pin down, but because I sort of have learned to love learning, I sort of have like an innate ability to, I guess, continue. But the part that I love the most is when I finish a song and I sort of feel like I can go back and add my own flair. When I am to the point where I feel technically complete with a song, and then I feel that I can go back through the song and play it technically correct, but also have that little bit of extra room to you know, give my emotion into the song. That feels amazing. And it's a really selfish thing. Like, it's really, because I'm not playing for anyone. It just feels really good to be able to express myself in a different way. Like,
aww, that's beautiful, Foss. What the heck? That's lovely. I love that. That's like, I mean, obviously I agree with you. Absolutely. There's nothing, I mean, some of the most fun lessons I've ever had, even in my like intermediate and you know, more advanced piano lessons, have always been when I'm learning to add some real expression, real emotion into the music. So getting the chance, I don't know, hearing someone else feel the same way is wonderful, because that's not what early learners generally, I mean, like, you know, little kids, they don't care about putting emotion into the piece. They just want to play it fast and you know,
I want to play Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, exactly. I'll play Fur Elise, and it's like, why? So it's very, very heartwarming to hear. And like I said, those have been some of my most fun lessons. Deet says, how did I get something for you? Check your DMs. What is? Did you
check your Dungeon Masters?
What is this? Deet. What is this? Deet. お誕生日おめでとう Harune, Foss, Alex, a cute. Everyone is a cute. P.S. Everyone is beautiful and wonderful. P.S. Deet a cute. I can't eat Deet. I have a technical problem where I can't share anything on stream. I can't share any videos or any web pages or anything on stream. So I can't actually share it, but I can post it after. Is that okay? I know that's the biggest oof, but I've literally tried everything under the sun. Ask Ouya. Can't fix it.
Ouya?
Ouya! Ouya! Actually, Ouya, if you're listening, I want you to hop in call right now and say hi. Yeah. It's my birthday wish. Get in here. Get in here. Ouya! I don't actually know if he will. Just because I tell him doesn't mean he will. So we'll see. Ouya!
He didn't. The madman.
Wow. Happy birthday. Wow.
Thanks, Ouya! Yay!
Oh.
The man, the myth, the foxy legend! Ouya! Thank you! Thank you! So should I still watch this video now? The man himself. He did it, the mad lad. Buff Fox. It's real, he's alive. He is real and alive. Thank you so much, Eric. Should I be watching this video now? Or you know what? I'll watch this video after the interview portion, so we don't take time out of Foss's. But you need to watch it at some point. I shall do for sure.
Birthday crunches for our favorite virtual assistant.
Yeah, 00 Slabs, thank you so much for the 3,000 crunches. Thank you so much. That's so incredibly sweet. Good night, Cool Dude Zach. Thank you so much for stopping by, and I hope you have a wonderful night. Thank you. I feel like I did have one more question for you, and it's flown the coop.
Oh no.
Oh wait, I didn't mean for that to be. I didn't mean for that pun either.
That didn't register until you said that.
Oh goodness. Ugh, it's been a day. It's been a bit of a
don't
day.
live in a coop anyways.
Well, that's true. You're wild and free and beautiful.
No, you.
Absolutely. Alex, what's your question? We can take a question or two, and then Foss, if you have any final things to share, then we can do that. De-influences are strong. Is it?
I
Yep.
have things to share.
Yes, if you've got any like last thoughts or last points to make. But I think Alex has a question.
I am in here.
Woo,
to ask the
Alex!
question.
Oh my
Foss,
goodness.
what makes you so adorable?
True.
You can't do that.
Okay, so it's just how you are in general. Nice, good to know. Okay, cool. Bye.
Alex, no, you.
D, what the heck? Where are these people go? You're all jumping in. That's okay.
Oh my gosh.
I love you all. Your presence is accepted. Are you guys? Are you guys still here? No, they left. They jumped ship. That's fine.
Oh my gosh.
And everyone's. No, it's true though. You're all big cuties, and I appreciate all of your presence here today. And to support our beautiful, lovely, adorable, hardworking, smart, intelligent owl girl. No. Putty. Oh, my hand totally twisted, or else I'd Pachi. You gonna Pachi for me, please? Pachi. Ooh. Producer asks, why did you learn violin? Was it you or your parents, who wanted you to learn it? I think he means like from the very, very beginning.
Oh, well, so I think we sort of touched on it, but like I started learning violin originally because that is just like one of the options that you had for school. You were supposed to like go into either band or orchestra class to learn about music as you went through primary school. So I chose the violin originally, and after I think the second year I went to French horn. So yeah.
And she was adorable since birth.
Oh my god, no!
Yes, it's true. It's true though.
Oh my gosh.
Goodness gracious. So, Foss, do you have any like final thoughts, any final points, any questions you want to ask?
Any questions that I want to ask?
Yeah, anyone to.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. It can be anything.
I might be too intoxicated to ask a coherent question.
Those are the best kinds of questions. What do you mean?
Harune,
Hi.
what inspired you to teach to teach piano?
What inspired me to teach piano? To be honest, I tried avoiding teaching as long as I possibly could. Even all through college, not all through college. I started my junior year of or maybe it was my senior year. I can't even remember, but I started teaching music like very late in my schooling years, because I was absolutely dead set against it. I like kids, but I did not want, I just didn't think that I would be good with kids in that sense. Like, I thought I'd be too harsh. I thought I'd make them cry all the time. I thought like my standards would be too high and the kids wouldn't like me, but I also didn't want to lower my standards because, you know, I have a very sort of strict, or a very sort of like streamlined mindset on what I think is important to learn as a pianist. So I was just determined. I was like, no, this is not gonna go well for me, and even less so for the kids, and I think I'd just be more frustrated than anything. But I had to make money somehow, and if you're a pianist, you only really have like 3 options. Accompanying, so like anyone who does like, so and you probably had to find an accompanist for certain things that you've had to play, Foss, where like a single instrument that plays a single line of music is not, like, that's not the only instrument. That is the solo instrument, but there has to be something that sort of fills in all of the blanks, all of the harmonic blanks, so that you can do like a chord analysis and things like that. And you know, it you know, tells like both sides of the story, I guess, when it comes to what a piece of music is. So they need an accompanist, someone that can play multiple notes and so can play all of the harmonies. Most of the time it's a pianist. Yep. And I did not want to do accompanying because parents were, or most parents, when it comes to accompanying, they are not very, they're very demanding. They aren't very flexible. They will argue with you on your prices, and it's just messy work. So you either accompany, you either are like a concert pianist. Excuse me, my hand is rude. You're either a concert pianist, or you're a teacher. And seeing as how I didn't want to accompany and I had awful stage fright, I didn't want to do either of those. So I was like, okay, I'll bite the bullet and teach piano. And yeah, at first it was kind of daunting, but I ended up really liking it. I like a majority of my kids. That sounded mean. I like all of my kids.
One kid she hates.
There's just I will say that I can tell all of my kids are good kids. There's not a single bad egg I've taught who's been like internally just a terrible person. Because that's like the great thing is like because they're kids, it's so early in their growth, right, in life, that they haven't had the chance yet to become terrible people. So I'm glad I get to sort of witness them at this early and very vulnerable stage in their lives. But it's also really fulfilling. So long story short, I didn't want to at first. I ended up doing it and I don't regret it. And that's my that's my spiel. Yeah.
That's adorable. Have you had any scares with like the kids that you've teached or taught? Teach is not a word. Taught.
What do you mean by scares? Like they've said something that like truly terrifies me? Or
have you, okay, so things like, have they done something crazy in your classroom?
Oh, that is
involve their parents in something that like really should have just been between you and them, or anything just out of the box like that?
Kind of, yeah. Like I had one kid sort of, I mean, and because that's her home life, she was like little, she just didn't know any better. But she kind of like very quickly summarized her the child's mom and dad's relationship. And it was not good. Like, she was like, oh yeah, mommy's going through a divorce and her boyfriend's coming over to visit or something. And I was like, oh my god, like, maybe I shouldn't know this right now. Like, you know, like, who knows if this is sensitive information? Like, maybe it's a little TMI. I did have another student tell me something very terrifying with like a very straight face. She said something, like, she said it was during Halloween time and I was asking if she was like getting decorations out and if she was excited and things like that, and she was like very plainly, it was just like, we have a closet full of decorations that I'm scared to go into, kind of. And I was like, oh really, why? And she was like, I hear voices through the closet. And I was like, Jesus.
Oh god.
I was like, oh, okay, let's move on. Let's talk about something else.
Oh my god, that's terrifying.
I was like, maybe not this conversation today. We won't ever talk about the closet again. So, yeah, those have been like a couple of like really out of left field. I've had students ask me like when I'm gonna have children and like have yeah, and I was like, where do I begin with this? And she was like, like, what'd she say? I think she asked about my age and then was like, so when you turn a certain age, you'll have a baby, right? And I was like, oh, no. That's not how babies work. But I'm not about to explain that to you because you're a tiny child who should remain pure and not know these things. So, but it's so funny because she'll ask these questions and it's like so few and far between. But she's asked multiple times. But like I said, there's so few and far between that I like forget about it until she asks again. And I'm like, oh my god. I'm like taken aback all over again. So I was like, I should be used to this by now. It's like the third time she's asked, but it's like the third time in 6 months. So of course I'm gonna forget it, you know? So it's like, so I was like, okay. So yeah, that's, kids are great. They're really funny. There's something. For sure, there's something. But, like I said, I mean, they're so innocent. They're so innocent that I can't like be mad at them for the questions that they ask, because I know, right? You can really easily get into the head of a 5-year-old and be like, I know you know that this doesn't like make sense to you. Like, you don't really understand what you're asking. So, you know, I get that, but I also am very grateful for the chance to just like have them for 30 minutes and say, have your child back. I would not like to see them for another week, please. So.
That's my favorite part about kids. Like, they always go back to that.
You're just like, go back to your parent, and I'll see you in a week after I've recovered from this lesson.
Oh,
and then I see them again. I had one student who, like, she liked me, and she would tell me as much, but God, did she hate lessons. Like, she always just wanted to like have a conversation with me, but I was like, girl, we have to play. Your parents are paying me to teach you something. Like, we can't just sit here and shoot the breeze. And so I remember one time specifically that I held her over like just like 3 minutes or something, because I wanted her to get through a song that took her 20 minutes just to put her hands on the piano. So, we walk out of the at the end of the lesson, and I go to talk to her dad, you know, about how the lesson went. And before I can say anything, she might have actually interrupted me, I don't remember, but she was like, sorry we're late, Daddy. Little Miss Teacher here had to hold me over. And I was like, excuse me? Like,
oh,
I could not stand for that. Like, I just kind of looked down at her, and I just kind of stood there for a second, and I didn't know what to say in that moment. I was kind of waiting for things to like simmer down in my soul before I said words. but the dad was like on her in a second. He was like,
Fire
excuse.
spawn.
Yeah. like the dad was like, excuse me, we do not he was like, we are having a conversation after this and it will not be a fun one. And I was like, yes, dad, you're on this. But it was like,
Bonk the heck out of her.
I know, but it was like, parent, if this is like, clearly you discipline this child, but how did she get to this point? You know what I mean? Like, where was the discipline before now?
Kids have such a weird view of the world.
Oh, they
like,
sure
they're
do.
So,
Holy
it's
heck.
so self-centered until, like, honestly, myself, I didn't have a very good view of the world until after college. So it's like, it's them until they're, like, old enough to have a family, which is really scary.
No, you're absolutely right. Like, they just, like, they never seem to, like, know any better until, like, a family is their responsibility. Then all of a sudden it clicks, and sometimes it never does, you know?
Sometimes there's a lot of times where it never does.
Yeah. So, you know, it's up in the air for many people. Virtual Dinosaur, thank you so much for the host. But anyway, so thank you so much, Foss, for joining me today. And I know I kept you over a little bit, but oh my goodness, I really couldn't think of a better way to spend my birthday than chatting with you. You've just been such a gem throughout everything, even before this interview. And a collab with you was a long time coming. And yeah, I hope we can make music together someday.
Oh my gosh, I'm looking forward to it.
I know, I'm so excited. No, so let's take like a 3-minute break, shall we? So you can make your drink. You can you can simmer down, get some water, go stretch your legs.
Drink water.
Drink water. Thank you. Hello, Raiders. Hello, XJess. Thank you so much for the raid. Hello, Raiders. How are you doing today? Thank you. Yay. Welcome. Don't go anywhere, Raiders, because we are going on a very quick 3-minute break. We are just concluding the Aiton, thank you so much for the host. We are concluding the interview/chat portion of the stream, and we'll just switch to casual. So let's take that break. Thank you so much, Foss.
You're welcome. Thank you.